Good morning.
Good morning.
Just kidding. Morning.
Good morning.
And everyone else. Good morning.
Good
Good
morning.
morning. We have some people online out there in TV land. If you are a state board member and you are on the phone, please identify yourself.
Stan DeJarnett.
Mr. Vice Chairman, how are you, sir?
I'm well. Headed your way.
Excellent. All right. Do we have anybody else who is a board member out there in TV land? All right. It appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We do have a quorum, so we can proceed. Welcome to the July committee meetings / committee of the whole / regular board meeting. We're trying a new experiment today, particularly at the request of a board member who shall remain nameless, who is missing, who asked if we could have a one-day meeting and compact the committee meetings and then have the committee of the whole. So because Matt asked nicely, we worked it out to do it for July, which typically is our least busy meeting of the year, and then he's not here. So, but in all fairness to Matt, he had some business he had to attend to. I believe he'll be calling in for the afternoon meeting, committee of the whole. So I'm giving him a little grief. But we will proceed with our
Mr. Chairman, throughout COVID, we did do it that way.
We absolutely did. We absolutely did. We had to, and we made the best of it. And
Yes.
Bunch of stuff over
yeah, unfortunately. So we're going to see how this goes this month and see what happens from there. So we will begin with the Rules Committee, and I will turn to Ms. Petty. And do you have a quorum for your committee?
Yes, I do.
Perfect. You may begin.
All right, Dr. Taylor, if you would start with item number 1, please.
Item number 1 is a request to adopt the State Board Rule 160-4-2-.13 statewide passing score. State Board Rule 160-4-2-.13 statewide passing score is being amended to change the required percentage that the Georgia Milestones and of course numeric score must count toward a student's final grade to a minimum of 10% from the current requirement of 20%. Proposed amendment also cleans up prior Georgia Milestones and of course percentage requirements from 2011 and from the 2020 and 2021 pandemic adjustment. At the June 2023 board meeting, the State Board approved the initiation of this rule to be posted for public review and comment, and the rule has been posted for at least 30 days.
Okay, comments, questions, concerns from the
Tiffany, how many comments did we get? I know you sent us some. Was that all the comments that we got?
You received about 12 and 14, I think, comments in that file I shared with you.
So we only got 12 or 14 comments? I got that personally.
I did too. Is this gonna be for a separate vote?
Yes.
Maybe I'll save my comments for tomorrow, this afternoon.
Well, you have some comments, I would go ahead.
Yeah, that's what a committee meeting's for. Is at your discretion.
You know, I'm gonna try to say it in a way because I'm a teacher. And when I taught, gave my children, my students, tests during the year. So they had 10 or 15 tests that they could take. And if there was an issue with that, we tried to look at where we were having some hiccups and going back. So they had opportunities to really take the test. And I'm teaching content. And that's what these 4 courses are, content. And we're talking about dropping it from 20% of a grade to 10% when those are the 4 major things that we have in our state. And across the board, if I'm in Vienna or we're in Cairo or Troup County, everybody is doing the same test, apples to apples. And I read somewhere that, you know, when you're changing a rule, if you don't have it clear and you don't have some really understanding, and what I saw of the 12, we had some that said yes and some that said no to it, and for reasons that I thought were were fair on both sides. I just hate to see, I had several superintendents even say, you know, it could be higher. They were there with us when we went through this at first. We got rid of the graduation test. And we came back and did, there was talk about 30%, and we all said, well, no, let's figure out something that will work. So 20% of an end of course test, and I am very sensitive to the parents that I heard from that have children that don't test well, that have a 503, or there's something there. But I'm just concerned of what this says to, within our whole accountability. And this is content. If we're doing something wrong in teaching and not getting the content over, but I don't think we are. I think our teachers are there teaching strong to the content so that our kids, when they leave, will have a strong foundation when they get to technical college or university system or out on the workforce. And I'm just afraid we're sending a wrong signal, and that's not, that I'm not compassionate, because I am. I'm all about our kids. I just think there needs to be some more talk or thought about it. Just not for me. I'll hold some other comments later.
Anyone else? Yes, Ms. Kenmore.
Just referring to one of the comments that we got, just a couple of sentences. Dr. Brian Ridley, please stop lowering the bar for our children and our state. If the Department of Education won't stand up for our students, it's up to you. We really need to take this in consideration. I know I'm only one vote out of 14, but you know, we really need to look at the whole state and how it will impact what we're doing here and for our students. We want the best for our students, and it's just something for each one of us to just consider and think about. And having only 12 comments, that's kind of disturbing to me. Seems like we should have more than that, reaching out to communicate, to get more input regarding this, because this is going to be this is really going to affect our students and our systems all throughout the state.
And I will say about the comments, I did have several calls because people were trying to do that, and it was hard to comment. I mean, there was, the way it was set up, you had to write back, and half the people were on vacation. I mean, it was a terrible time to even send it out if you really wanted districts, because people are on vacation or gone or not even looking at this. And I think 12 comments might indicate that they weren't. But it was hard to make a comment on there, because you had to rewrite it to policy instead of click on and say, I agree or disagree. So those were just some things that I got to.
What I heard, which was interesting, is that what overwhelmingly people looked at this as a way of being more flexible with what their students needed. And really, to Helen's point of having tests all along the semester, there will be a grade in place. And that even if they choose to go 10%, that still is a grade level. If the child does not do well on that test, it is gonna reduce their score by a grade. So what I heard mostly positive comments from the folks in my district, where they were looking at it as a way to be more flexible and to focus more on what the teacher was teaching all throughout the semester with the testing that the child took throughout the semester, and not having the end of course test still show how the student did, but didn't totally destroy their grade if they didn't do well. So I had mostly positive comments, and I would say I had about 30 altogether of people reach out to me. So I had mostly positive. It was more, I didn't keep a tally, but it was well over 20 that were positive.
Any other?
Yeah,
Mr. Royal?
I'm gonna save some of mine for the committee of the whole, and I'll tell you why too. This is obviously rules committee, but because we do have people, I'm amazed, some of the people that reached out to me after our meeting that either watched it or watched it afterwards on there. And I want to save some of the comments for that, because it's recorded and saved, so they know that I was fighting for them. Because I got comments to that, please stand up for this. But it's mainly because I used a baseball analogy in our last meeting about how if you strike out with bases loaded in the ninth inning, you're not the person that lost the game. There were so many opportunities throughout that ball game to score that winning run or that tying run. It's not on that person that struck out with that high pressure situation. The kids have opportunity all throughout the year to grow, to work on their grade and do it in a master and get extra help. I was sent an article, and it's way too long, but it's from 1976, a speech to all the college coaches. And the coach at the time was one of the most revered college coaches. He began coaching in 1948, and he was 78 when he gave this speech, and it was labeled 17 inches. And you can probably Google it and find it after I got interested in it and found a lot more information on it. But the moral of the speech was at every level, whether it's Kate's softball, minor league, major league, pros, the plate is 17 inches wide. It is. That is a standard, and every pitcher has to hit 17 inches. Babe Ruth, 17 inches when he was swinging. Acuna, 17 inches when he's swinging. And one of the quotes from it is from there. It's amazing, but it says it talks about education, and that's one of the problems with our country and education is when the going gets tough, we widen the plate. We widen the plate, and we get more flexible when we're only talking about 4 content areas that we as the state of Georgia have said are incredibly important for kids to learn and master to be successful in career, work, college life. 4. And we have it, and we're widening the plate. We're widening the plate to do it so that more can do it. So I actually probably ought to send a copy of this too, because whether we're talking about today or life, or it's a pretty interesting read about where we are in society, and we widen the plate. When the tough gets going, we widen the plate. But there are reasons as that too. But I did get some other feedback from some really people I respect in the industry, and I think my tally was probably 20 and 18 were not for this, and 2 said it's a baked cake, it's gonna happen anyway, so just go fight and do what you can. Which I respect my board members here, and I don't believe it's a baked cake. I believe I know where the vote's gonna go. I know how to count, but it's not a baked cake. But and actually one of them was from a principal in Martha's district. I'm gonna read some of his comments on that, and because there's some out there that think the EOC
Would you forward that to me,
that think
please?
the EOC is the most reliable test we have in the state of Georgia. They think it is the best one that we have. It's the most reliable, best indicator of the mastery of standards. That's what he told me. I've gotten that comment from a few people. So,
Mike, if you've gotten something like that, please forward it to me, because I would do that for you.
I understand, and I should have told you that before.
Yeah.
I came in on 2 wheels, I apologize, and
Thank
I
you.
shouldn't,
Thank you.
I apologize for that, because I would want the same. But yeah, it is, and this is wrong, but we get to vote, and I love every one of you, so, okay.
Any other comments, questions?
Yeah, I was at Gale last week and took the opportunity for every table I sat around to kind of hold the folks I was with. Most of whom I spoke with were rural districts. Without exception, every one of them appreciated the flexibility and the desire to be able to make that change locally based upon the needs of their students. Didn't have one that was against the change.
Any other comments, questions from members of the board? Okay, without any other comments, we will move this to a separate vote. Item number 2, Dr. Taylor.
Item number 2 is a request to adopt the revised standards for the essentials of biotechnology and applications of biotechnology courses. Biotechnology and healthcare professionals in Georgia requested a review of these core standards to update the content as the current standards were adopted in 2013. These professionals, along with secondary and post-secondary biotechnology teachers, collaborated with the standards writing committee to create revised standards. Major necessary revisions to standards included updates in infection control and safety specifications in awareness, prevention, and reporting procedures, along with advanced techniques in biotechnology and the inclusion of newly discovered biotechnology products. The standards were approved for public review and comment at the June 2023 meeting and have been posted for at least 30 days.
Any
Comments, questions, concerns?
Is there somebody here from Dr. Walls to tell us comments?
Roger.
Yeah, Roger.
We had predominantly strongly agree, but from the industry folks, they said these standards were in desperate need of updating as the biotech industry is constantly in flux and has discovered new information and developed novel processes since 2013, which is when they were developed. Thank you for trying to keep the standards as close to industry standards as possible. May I recommend the standards should be updated every 5 years or sooner in order to stay relevant. So that was a great comment. We had some others that these standards are very aligned with national business and industry requirements in the biotech industry, and there's a credentialing exam for the biotech industry that it aligns to as well. So it was something that we needed to do. It is a very rigorous 2 courses, and it's not for the faint-hearted. But for those folks that are offering it and are doing it, and I was gonna say, Morgan County has a magnificent biotech program. They're doing some great stuff, so it was nice to hear that.
I'm always so impressed at how y'all match the industry. You really have a conversation with them, and, you know, when you call and or you talk with someone, they know you, and they know you've been there, so. And I love the idea of 5 years too, and looking into things. And you probably do that anyway, don't
That'll be
you?
fun, you know.
What
We're
other
trying.
counties are strong in this? Morgan,
I know, Morgan is, Hall County, Fulton, Forsyth, and those are the only ones off the top of my head. I would have to ask our program specialist to give me a list.
Yes, Ms.
I
Oliver.
think one of the challenges, and you really hit the nail on the head, and I know Hall County works very hard on this, is there's always gonna be certain aspects of curriculum that there's no way for us to keep up with how things are changing, you know, because of the way they are. And so a 5-year standard, I think, is smart to look at, but there probably ought to be some sort of committee or something that is looking at this all the time. I'm sure you're doing that, but you know, there are adjustments and changes that are happening all the time in these fields. So I'm glad to hear that. Great comments. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Ro.
Any other comments, questions, concerns about item number 2? Okay, we plan to move item number 2 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 3.
Item number 3 is a request to adopt the revised standards for introduction to healthcare science. These standards are being updated to reflect the current industry requirements, as the current standards were adopted in 2013, and to provide articulation credit opportunities with the Technical College System of Georgia. Healthcare professionals and healthcare science teachers collaborated with the standards writing committee to create these revised standards. Updates were made to equip learners with current understanding of the use of telemedicine, improve communication skills between patients and healthcare workers, increased awareness of self-health and wellness as a healthcare provider, and enhanced infection control and safety procedures used in the industry. The standards were approved for public review and comment at the board's June 2023 meeting and have been posted for at least 30 days.
Any comments, questions, concerns from any of the board members?
just an update on what you got. Have you heard?
We had mostly strongly agree or agree. The one that says, standards built on students' prior knowledge, we got a dean there, but it's the first course. I mean, they've never had healthcare
Right.
before, so it's kind of hard to build on prior knowledge for this. But the comments were good, basically very similar with excellent opportunity for students to attain a strong foundational knowledge and understanding of the world of healthcare from which students can build and pursue a career in healthcare or apply in their everyday lives. So we got positive comments and feedback there.
Any other comments, questions? If not, we'll plan to move item number 3 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 4.
Item number 4 is a request to adopt a new course, light duty hybrid electric vehicle technology. As more hybrid and electric vehicles enter the market, a need for entry-level technicians to know and understand the operational concepts of these vehicles is imperative. This course is being proposed as a 4th course for students in the automobile service technology pathway. Industry experts and educators collaborated to develop the standards for this course, which were, and the standards were approved, at the board's June 2023 meeting and have been posted for at least 30 days.
Thank you. Roger, we'll just start with you and then we'll see if any comments.
Same thing, they strongly agreed or agreed. There were minimal, anything less than that, so that was good. Content appears very thorough, well-written, properly, formatted for ease of understanding. But one of the ones was this is exciting curriculum that will require significant investment in high voltage gloves, pump, et cetera. And we know that, and we are working to, make that available. So one thing leads to another.
Absolutely.
So it's exciting.
What districts showed an interest in this? Do you know yet?
Well, there's a few systems and they have like top tier automotive programs already. And it's gonna be a top tier, automotive program that goes into this first because of the knowledge that the instructor has to have. And just, it's not for everybody right now. Over time, I would think our teachers will be able to flip from the internal combustion engines to the electric, and we'll reduce our industrial internal combustion engine courses, the number of those courses, and then increase EV stuff as more of those come on the market.
So, Roger, the college and career academies that are in these areas that have this, have they shown an interest in this course? That have automotive, as a curriculum, do you know yet?
Some have, some their teacher is not at the point they need to be. I will say this, Forsyth County has the only teacher right now who has the 3 ASE certifications required to teach the EV stuff. He's very young, and so that's a great starting point. The teacher at Cobb County, their career academy version is almost to the 3 certifications. So those are our top folks right there. And we will probably see Maxwell and Gwinnett come on board. They're close with adding their ASE certifications. And all 3 of those programs are high quality automotive programs. We may see, it's either Troop or LaGrange. Stephen over there,
Yeah.
he's almost to the point where he's ready to start the process. But he did help with the development of these standards.
Thank you, Roger. Any other comments, questions?
Roger, do you see any interest in, like southeast Georgia, where they have the EV plants and all, near the plants?
Well, manufacturing is different from repair
Okay.
or making sure it works. So we have a robust manufacturing pathways that are available, and we have a number of schools in southeast Georgia as well as southwest and across the state that are implementing some really cool manufacturing things. So it's a little bit different than making sure it works when it goes. So
I was just wondering if they were working in tandem.
there are not that many automotive programs in that part of the state.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Okay, thank you.
All right, any other comments, questions from the board? Now we'll plan to move item number 4 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 5.
Item number 5 is a request to adopt the revised standards for marketing principles. Marketing professionals and secondary and post-secondary marketing teachers, along with CTAE administrators, collaborated with the Standards Writing Committee to create revised standards. Revisions include information on advancements in technology and its impact on marketing strategies, an introduction to social media and digital marketing strategies and techniques, and more depth for market analysis, customer relationships, and branding. The standards were approved for public review and comment at the June 2023 board meeting and have been posted for at least 30 days.
Thank you. Mr. Roger?
This too was, very positive, we strongly agree. There was a group that felt that they needed to go in depth more with analytics, but this is the first course, and the analytics of their social media platforms are dealt with in the second and third course of the pathway. So they were kind of getting the cart before the horse on that, and they understand now what's going on, because this is the first course that needed to be updated, and we've already updated the other ones to reflect the 21st century. And these were done so long ago, they did not even include the CTSO standard. So it does now include DECA as the CTSO for the marketing pathway. So those were all positive things there, as well as, what was this one? Introducing these concepts in high school will provide a great foundation for pursuing a marketing degree or for any future business professional. So our business community comes to the table a good bit, and they like to see these entry-level courses and these pathways lead to a possibility of students going into those fields as an entry-level person or doing it while they're pursuing those degrees while they're in college. So they've been very instrumental in helping us develop these.
Any other comments, questions? If not, we're planning to move item number 5 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 6.
Item number 6 is a request to initiate a rule amendment to State Board Rule 160-3-1-.07, testing programs, student assessments. Again, this is a request to initiate a rule amendment, which means if approved, the rule will be posted for at least 30 days for public review and comment. State Board Rule 160-3-1-.07, testing programs, student assessments, is being amended to incorporate the following changes. 1, to change the mathematics course that will be assessed with the Georgia Milestones end of course assessment, which is Algebra 1, Concepts and Connections, and the accompanying Georgia Alternate Assessment 2.0, beginning with the 2023-2024 school year. Incorporate the English Language Arts course, Literature and Composition 2, which will be assessed with the Georgia Milestones end of course assessment and Georgia Alternate Assessment 2.0, beginning with the 2025-2026 school year. Add the dyslexia and universal reading screening requirements for students in kindergarten through grade 3, and provide for an exemption of the GKIDS English Language Arts portion for kindergartners being screened through the dyslexia and universal reading screening requirements, and provide general cleanup updates related to the state's English language proficiency assessment and related guidance, the state's alternate assessment aligned with alternate academic achievement standards and related descriptions, the dual enrollment, advanced placement, and international baccalaureate end of course exemption for U.S. history, and the names of reference testing administration materials. Again, if approved, this rule amendment will be posted for 30 days for public review and comment.
Comments, questions?
There was so much in there to try to absorb, and I see Allison's here. Tell us a little bit about this algebra course, and where is Foundations of Algebra that we had before? Matt, do you know, I mean, anything?
Yes, it still exists, so this would just be approving the algebra course for the EOC, which it is now, but since we updated the math standards, it has a slightly different course name, but it's still algebra. The EOC, where it's gonna be, is not gonna change. So Foundations still exists and it's still being used, but we've never used an end-of-course exam for the Foundations
Yeah,
course. It's always been algebra, so that's what we're recommending for the.
Okay, but the algebra course has more geometry. What's the difference in it? I mean,
Just
I
the
remember us
revised-
talking
Yeah,
about
it's just
that.
the new, it's just, since y'all passed the new mathematics standards, that's
but it had more, algebra had more geometry in it, or geometry had more, there was something different in this that was.
Yeah, I think it's more algebra based than the previous course was. You know, before it was more integrated across the courses. Now it's more
Integrated and
based.
the other, yeah.
Yes.
Okay, any other comments, questions? Okay, now I plan to move this to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 7.
Item number 7 is a request to approve the entertainment, sports, and events management pathway to be posted for public review and comment. The increased demand in Clark County for hospitality labor and the partnerships between Clark County School District and local businesses are the driving forces behind the development of the entertainment, sports, and events management pathway. Clark County Schools, along with multiple local businesses, industry partners, post-secondary institutions, and the Department of Education, collaborated to create a secondary career pathway designed to help students transition smoothly into the in-demand hospitality industry. If approved, this pathway will be posted for 30 days for public review and comment.
Thank you, Dr. Taylor. Roger, you have any comments for us?
Well, this is critical to the Classic Center, and if you look and see the task force that was in your documentation, there's a number of people from the Classic Center who helped with this pathway. And it will help their tourism and their hospitality industry for that region.
Great.
And it'll be able to be used by anybody in the state, so
All right,
put it out there and see what we get.
there you go. Any other comments, questions? Okay, if not, we'll move this to the consent agenda tomorrow. Dr. Taylor, item number 8.
Item number 8 is a request to adopt the WIDA English Language Proficiency Standards. WIDA Access, first administered in Georgia in 2006, is the state's English language proficiency assessment for English learners. WIDA alternate access, first administered in Georgia in 2013, is the state's English language proficiency assessment for English learners with significant cognitive disabilities. Since first administering WIDA Access and WIDA alternate access, Georgia has utilized WIDA's English language proficiency standards and alternate English language proficiency standards, which are owned by the Board of Regents of the University of Wisconsin system on behalf of the WIDA Consortium. Federal law, and specifically the U.S. Department of Education assessment peer review process, require that the state board formally adopt the WIDA English language proficiency standards and the alternate English language proficiency standards as the state's ELP achievement standards and alternate ELP achievement standards.
Okay, comments, questions on item number 8? Okay, hearing none, we'll move item number 8 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 9.
Item number 9 is a request to approve the universal reading screeners. The official code of Georgia annotated, section 20-2-153.1C3B, requires that the state board approve a list of universal reading screeners for use by public schools and local school systems as part of their comprehensive literacy programs, which meet the following criteria: that they are capable of providing relevant information to assist teachers with targeting instruction based on student needs, capable of measuring foundational literacy skills, capable of identifying students who have a significant reading deficiency, including but not limited to identifying students with characteristics of dyslexia, prescribe parameters on the time required to administer universal reading screener with the primary objective of minimizing impacts on instructional time, and are capable of progress monitoring. Section C3A of this same code section tasks the Georgia Department of Education with establishing qualifications, timelines, and submission procedures for education service providers to submit one or more universal reading screeners to be considered for inclusion on the board's list of approved universal reading screening providers as provided for in section C3B. The vendors and suppliers in the attached list responded to the request for information to solicit information from interested parties with respect to universal reading screeners to be administered to each student in kindergarten through 3rd grade. Respondents were required to indicate how their proposed universal reading screeners satisfy the criteria outlined in code section 20-2-153.1C3B and provide information on the reliability and validity of their proposed screeners.
Any comments, questions from the board?
Well, I've got some, and only because I think everybody's heard us say that the the screeners are probably the most important thing we do. And this request for information is for Senate Bill 538. And we already did one for House Bill 48, which was the dyslexia. And in law,
Senate Bill.
I meant Senate Bill, I'm sorry, yeah. In law, I think August 2024 is the kindergarten dyslexia screening, and the House Bill 538 is July 1, 2024. And I'm just concerned that it's a little incomplete right now. I think we need more time to talk about these, and for DOE to come and bring it to the table and let us understand what is involved in this, so when we get calls, and I know districts already have some screeners, but it would be great to know what are the challenges within these and what are the highlights of some. And because when we're starting this task of screening, if we don't get this right at the very beginning, and these are the most important things, so I'm a little bit, I sort of want us to maybe pull it and wait and get some more information so that we can talk about, DOE, you can explain to us a little bit about what the screeners will do. Are there gonna be some guidelines for the districts? And one of the things that we've already learned from our committee, our dyslexic committee, is that the screener that is used for dyslexia, it can be the same one that's used for House Bill 538. So if we had some more clarity and some more information that was given, then I think some of our districts, and I know we say that people can look it up, but we have 132 districts that, as Frank and I were at Gale, that don't have a lot of resources. And so they're looking for support from DOE. And when we saw 92 of our school districts come up and receive an award because school improvement gave them guidelines and instructions and all, something to help them move out of the bottom 5%, I just feel like that, why are we in such a hurry right now? Why can't we have a little bit of time to talk about the ones that are on the dyslexia list, these, and the ones that are on this list, and to give us some idea what really are the challenges with these for the districts to know? What are the highlights of these? Because some of these districts, if they have a screener, and I know these literacy are requiring K through 3, but if you have the proper screener, then it'll do K through 8. And some of them that already exist have devices that can plug into them, but they don't know this. And you'll only know this if you have information like this. It's evidence-based, and you can go online and see what the universal screeners do, and you can see what they do well and don't do well. And I think, and I wouldn't have this except we were on that dyslexia committee. And so I would love to see DOE come back, us table it and have some more talk about it, because I think it's incomplete just to say we're gonna put these out there and vote on them without having any kind of knowledge about what those screeners do and how they can serve. And guidelines are not, I know, Matt, that there's always been this talk about local control, but a guideline doesn't take away local control. In Tennessee and Arkansas, everything that was done in here made suggestions for guidelines. That did not take away their local control. It just helped steady the course of how we're gonna make a good decision and how our districts are gonna make good decisions. So I am in favor of maybe pulling this and getting some more information from, and I know Amy is working on this, and others in teaching and learning, and Jennifer, I'm sure, is with the dyslexia. So is that a fair ask, or other people might not feel that way? But that would be my ask, is to see if we could have a little bit more time to get, it feels incomplete.
I'll say districts are asking for it as they're prepping for the coming school year. And a lot of districts want to go ahead, and since this is going to have to be scaled statewide the following school year, they want to go ahead and pilot and work out that implementation implementation now, so they can be better prepared when that statewide requirement comes. So a lot of districts are asking for this. You gotta think of the timing. July is better to make that decision than August as they're just starting back to school. So that's one thing to keep in mind. The other thing is, this is gonna be coming to the board on an annual basis. This is not a one and done list, because there's an avenue for districts to submit screeners as well. So this is not like one vote set in stone. It's gonna be an annual discussion and decision. So if we see that things are taking place that need to be addressed, that'll be a good time for the board to kind of weigh in that. But I think right now, a lot of people want clarity, particularly since the dyslexia list has just been approved, and y'all approved the funding for the dyslexia screeners. They wanna see what the universal screeners are gonna be, so if there is some alignment, they can go ahead and take advantage of that while they have that dyslexia money. So they can kind of kill two birds with one stone. So that's where that's coming from. But if there are concerns that roll out, I think as the districts are piloting, we can keep an eye on that. And then when this comes up again next year, I think we can be more intentional on where we go with the list.
Can I ask a question on that? Because what I'm hearing is Helen, obviously you spend a lot of time, effort, energy into this, and understand your challenges on this. But also, I know we've had to build a lot of planes in flight over the years, and 2 years or a year later, it really didn't look a whole lot like it did the year before. Because I think your assessments are spot on, and I may be wrong, but am I hearing this is really going to be a pilot year this year for it to tweak and work, and does that fix it, or what?
Well, I think what we're hearing from our districts are, and they are asking because they have some things, but they need some guidelines, Matt. They need something that says, these screeners that we got, that were state approved for dyslexia, we need to know which one of those are fully loaded, that will do what we need for K through 3 or 8, which one of those need attachments, which one of those only do this, and they can look at what they have and then they can see. But to ask them us to pass this without any knowledge, the district, a lot of them don't even have people there. They don't even really know, about these screeners. And I think that it would be very helpful if we could give them some guidelines as to what these screeners do and the depth that they go to, what are the challenges with them, what are the highlights with them. And then, yes, they can call the vendor and talk with them, but to just put out all these without any kind of guideline, we didn't do that with school improvement. We went in there and said, hey.
But they didn't select their screeners in school improvement. They used what they meet them where they are and what programs they're using at the school. Their job is to coach and provide support.
But that was my
If
point.
Stephanie was here, she wouldn't say that we mandated a certain screener or mandated certain guidance. The approach is every
I'm not
district's a little
saying we're
different.
mandating. I'm saying a guideline doesn't mandate. It supports.
But and I just want, similar to dyslexia, how the application was structured was we took the requirements of the legislation to a T, and the vendor had to fill the application on how they met those requirements.
But that was,
And ones that did not aren't being moved forward. So
I understand, but that
some
was,
vendors didn't meet those requirements, and so they're not being moved forward as a recommendation. But we're gonna, for transparency, we're gonna put everything that was submitted for us, we're gonna share that out to districts and put it on our website so people can see exactly how those vendors met the requirements through whatever features or tools that those products have, so they can make the best decisions possible.
So I think we probably should pull this out for a separate vote, this particular rule.
And maybe we can, well, we don't have tomorrow, that's what I say.
No, it's today.
And we've gotten a lot of information on these screeners. We've had separate presentations, we've had lots of action. I
we
mean, I
didn't
feel
have a
like we've
presentation on the screeners.
we
Maybe
had a separate presentation on the dyslexia project, which included part of the things on the screeners. No, we haven't had one on each individual screener, but that's not our decision. It's the local school system's decision to have the information.
But you're voting, but if we are vetting we should be looking at them, and we're voting on these, and so to make a good choice, I'm not saying
Well,
these
that's
are,
why I say we should pull it out for a separate vote and see what the mood of the board is on this particular rule. And if it passes, then it goes on. If it doesn't pass, we can take it to another area.
I'm for that, I'm not trying to be, I'm just saying it feels incomplete, and I wish, is there any chance of y'all putting out some guidelines as we do this?
I think we got agreement.
Siri said,
I
uh-huh.
didn't even touch her.
We'll put, I think absolutely, but I think it's gonna be on the implementation. So whatever screener they use on the list, the implementation is gonna look the same. How is a classroom teacher gonna implement in the classroom? How's a school leader gonna implement that screener? So I think there does need to be some support, and we'll provide guidance on how to implement screeners and how to use that data to inform instruction. But it's not gonna be vendor specific.
Yeah.
Their best bet is to go to that vendor, because they know the product a lot more than a DOE staff member, and get that specific information about that product. But we can definitely, and we will, provide support on how to implement the screeners themselves, whatever screener that they select.
Any other comments?
Madam Chair,
Yes, go ahead.
this is Stan. I've heard the comments and I appreciate, the perspective that everybody's bringing. If I was still working in a local school district, given the, importance of these screeners, I would want as much time to, in advance of the deadline to be using the screener. I'd want as much time as possible, and I think that going ahead and getting this out there makes a lot of sense to me as a former local school administrator. I'd want as much time as possible to get ready for this.
I'm not saying that, Stan. I think we all need time. I was just asking for a little bit more of a clarity on these, a little bit more information that helps the district that doesn't, where I grew up, that doesn't have a lot of resources. And if there was a list of things that said, hey, this one services kids 1 through 8 and does everything that is needed. This one has some of the challenges here that it only covers this. But and I think, Matt, that's why I think people look to the DOE. We have the people here that have the knowledge, we have the staff here, we have the money here to do something like that. And I just encourage us not to look at it and think that this is not, anyway, we need time to get it done, but we also need time to understand and help and support, and that's all I'm saying. And it felt very vague just to say I want to vote on these when I have no idea. And I know you did that, but when vendors send you things, they're gonna put in things. It's kind of like resources and books. They'll tell you it does it, and then you start teaching it and go, it didn't do that. And I was just asking because I think that much of DOE and what we can do, that if we can, and we're always talking about support and help, and if we could get something out prior, just say, hey, we've looked at these, here's the way we vetted them. We found that this one did K through 8. We found this one did so-and-so. Doubles can be used with that's just knowledge of what you have to share with other people. And then they can come back and go, got it, I've already have this. And it saves them the time, like Stan was saying. They need that time to be able to make decisions. It saves them the time. You've already laid out some helpful knowledge that they can jump on and move forward with. That's all I'm saying. And it did feel just a little bit.
We will put out implementation supports for districts.
Okay.
So would you, Ms. Ross, we'll pull this in for a separate vote?
Yes.
Yes, we're just gonna pull it for a separate vote.
Thank you, Ms. Rice.
Okay, Dr. Taylor, item number 10. We're on rules time, we're on budget time now.
Sorry.
Item number 10, a request to approve the fiscal year 24 Special Education Advisory Panel. As required by the Individuals with Disabilities Education Act, IDEA, and State Board Rule 160-4-7-.01, Purpose for Exceptional Students, the Special Education State Advisory Panel serves as an advisory group to the Department, the Division for Special Education Services and Supports, and the State Board of Education on issues related to special education and related services for children with disabilities. The State Advisory Panel advises the Department of Unmet Needs within the state in the education of children with disabilities, comments publicly on any rules or regulations proposed by the state regarding special education, advises the department in developing evaluations and reporting on data to the Federal Secretary of Education and the Office of Special Education Programs. Advises the department in developing corrective action plans to address findings identified in federal monitoring reports under the IDEA, and advises the department in developing and implementing policies relating to the coordination of services for children with disabilities. The composition of the state advisory panel is addressed in the IDEA and the Georgia Rules for Special Education. Members serve 3-year terms, and a majority of the panel members must be parents of children with disabilities or individuals with disabilities. These recommendations are in accordance with IDEA requirements of at least 51% of the members being parents of students or individuals with disabilities.
Okay, comments, questions, concerns about item number 10? Okay, we'll move item number 10 to the consent agenda. Dr. Taylor, item number 11.
Item number 11 is a request to approve the fiscal year 24 Title I Part A Committee of Practitioners. Title I of the Elementary and Secondary Education Act of 1965, as amended by the Every Student Succeeds Act of 2015, requires that each state education agency receiving funds under this title create a state committee of practitioners to advise the state in carrying out its responsibilities under this title. Members are nominated for 3-year terms by the Federal Programs Division and are approved by the State Board of Education. The Title I Committee of Practitioners currently has several vacancies to be filled, and the State Board approves the entire membership list each year. Board approval of the recommended replacements will assure that the Title I Committee of Practitioners has adequate membership to continue advising the state in carrying out its responsibilities. The recommended replacements to the committee membership include statewide representation of all required stakeholders in the decisions of the Georgia Title I program, and includes representation from each of Georgia's 14 congressional districts.
Okay, comments, questions on item number 11? I can tell you, I've talked to several of these appointees. They're excited. Brian Law in Brooks County, he's so excited he's going to be on this panel. All right, if no objection, we'll move this to the consent agenda. Okay, Dr. Taylor, item number 12.
Item number 12, request to approve additions to the Special Needs Scholarship Program Private School List 2023-2024. The Official Code of Georgia Annotated, Section 20-2-2115, requires the State Board to authorize private schools that will be eligible to participate in the Georgia Special Needs Scholarship Program. Private schools interested in participating in the program had until June 30th, 2023 to apply for the 2023-2024 school year and must meet eligibility requirements outlined in rule and law to be considered. Having met these requirements, the following new private schools are seeking to participate in this Georgia Special Needs Scholarship Program for the 2023-24 school year. Seeds of Excellence Christian Academy in Douglas County, Georgia Cumberland Academy in Gordon County, Tanima, the Richard and Jean Katz High School for Girls in DeKalb County, SOAR Academy in Columbia County, Atlanta Adventist Academy in Gwinnett County, Exceptional Children Learning Center, LLC, in Paulding County, Stepping Stones Academy for Autism, LLC, in Thomas County, and Douglasville SDA Academy in Douglas County.
Okay, any comments, questions on item number 12? Okay, we'll plan to move that to the consent agenda. Chairman, the Rules Committee is through.
All right, great. Looks like we have items 1 and 9 that are pulled for separate vote.
Yes, sir.
And then 2 through 8 and 10 through 12 will go to consent.
Yes, sir.
All right, very good. All right, we will move forward with our budget committee, and I believe, Mr. Griffin, that you will be handling the budget today, and do you have a quorum for your committee?
I don't know if I have a quorum or not. I've got 3 members here. Did Nick replace Mike Long on that? He's not here. If that's the case, I have 50% of the members here.
You've got you and Rich, Maya, and Martha.
Rich is on there.
So the members of budget are Matt Donaldson, Frank Griffin, Nick Ellis, Rich Vidaris, Mike Royal, Scott Sweeney, and Martha Zoll.
Okay.
So you do have a quorum.
Yes, sir, I have a quorum.
Very good.
Thank you for the help. All right, we will move on. Russ, proceed with item 1.
All right, we got a Georgia technical CTSO. The purpose of this contract is for each CTSO to provide training, conduct leadership conferences that support CTAE. Contract amount is $433,764.
Thank you. Any questions or comments? We'll place that item on the consent agenda. Item number 2.
We got a contract renewal for C-Turn. The purpose of this contract is to provide professional development and resources to support local CTE programs. The total contract amount is not to exceed $1,666,106.
Any questions or comments? Place that on the consent. Item number 3.
This is our FY 24 21st Century CCLC Continuation Sub-Grant Awards. The purpose of this grant is to create out-of-school hours programs that provide academic enrichment opportunities for children, particularly students who attend high-poverty, low-performing schools. The total grant amount is not to exceed $45,003,674.
Any questions or comments? Item number 4.
All right, this is our FY 24 Education for Homeless Children and Youth Grant, Kenny Bento. The purpose of this grant is to assist with the instructional supports and pupil services for Georgia's homeless children and youth in accordance with the requirements of the Kenny Bento Homeless Assistance Act. The total grant amount is not to exceed $4,525,928.
Any comments? Item number 5.
Item number 5 is our grant for our FY 24 federal formula grant allocations, SNIDEA. The purpose of this grant is to award the annual formula-based allocations for federal programs. The total grant amount is not to exceed $1,171,279,000.
Any comments?
Item 8.
It's all grant
We'll talk
allocations, all
about real money, I
formula.
get. Item number 6.
This is our FY 24 preschool disability services grant. The purpose of this state grant is to assist local education agencies with meeting the needs of preschool children with disabilities. The total grant amount is not to exceed $46,780,800.
Any comments? Item number 7.
All right, this is our school year 2023 commercial warehouse storage and delivery grant. The purpose of this grant is to reimburse school food authorities for the expenses incurred for the commercial warehouse storage and delivery expenses. The total grant amount is not to exceed $1,200,000.
Any comments? Item number 8.
All right, this is a grant for supply chain assistance. The purpose of this grant is to alleviate supply chain disruptions in school year 2024 for school food authorities participating in the National School Lunch Program. The total grant amount is not to exceed $44,484,350.
Any comments? Item number 9.
This is our contract with Reading and Math Inc. The Georgia General Assembly appropriated funds in FY 24 budget for the AmeriCorps Math Corps and the Reading Corps programs. The total contract amount is not to exceed $6 million.
Any comments? Yes, sir.
Rusk, is this that one that was really the creature of the legislature and went to DCA and hot potatoed over to us?
Any other comments? Item 10.
Well, that's real quick,
well-
just another follow-up on that. I mean, obviously, it's on the tutors and the mediation catching up, familiar, but how are we gonna measure, I guess, are we at the on monitoring, I guess, and how are we gonna measure it? What are the, how's it gonna work in that? I guess we're just, I know it's hard, so we're just providing tutors to these, how
Once the money goes out.
Provided to students that are identified as needing support in those areas. AmeriCorps and AMPACT, which is the actual organization, will be coordinating with our school improvement team as well as our teaching and learning division to identify schools and students needing supports, as well as working with them on the ongoing monitoring in terms of their review of assessments of how students are performing on reading and math in formative assessments.
So it's $6 million and it says serves up to 5,000 students. It's $1,200 a student.
The cost, so how it's structured, Mike, is it's year one it's $30K per
Okay,
tutor, and then it drops to $10K per student. per
so
tutor.
it's really backing into the tutors and,
Absolutely, yeah, so that number of students should scale up over time, or our cost should go down.
That makes sense.
that makes sense.
Any
Thank
other
you.
comments,
That
questions?
was the part I was missing.
All right, item number 10.
Item 10 is our contract for Zone 7 completion special school support. The purpose of this contract is to support the development of a new completion special school zone in Zone 7. The total contract amount is not to exceed $5 million.
Any comments? Item 11.
This is our building opportunities and out-of-school time boost grant award. Boost grants are designed to expand access to and improve the quality of after-school and summer learning opportunities for Georgia students. The total grant award is not to exceed $12,806,620.
Any questions or comments? Yes, sir.
I mean, similar, I mean, this is 12 million, way less than the billion we were just talking about, but this is money to really help get kids on track on there. So how is this gonna, I mean, I was reading through, I mean, this Godot boost sub-grantees, again, catch-up money, helping remediate and get students caught up on the learning loss. Ongoing coaching and technical assistance, sub-grantees and lessons learned. Just real quick, how is this one gonna be administered and how are we gonna measure it? How is it being, monitored and done on this one?
Mr. Roy,
Yes.
so this is our second year. You might recall with the American Recovery ESSER 3 funds, we had to set aside 1% of those funds, one for after school, one for summer school. This is the second year of the after school portion. I think it was January, y'all approved the second year of the summer school one.
Yeah.
So this is the contract also that y'all approved, again, different month, with Voices for Georgia's Children, which is the Georgia Statewide After School Network. So they do all of the performance metrics, criteria. We, of course, hold them accountable through the contract.
We can get you a copy of that report.
Yeah, that'd be good.
All right, any other comments or questions? Item 12.
This is a contract renewal with U.S. Foods. The purpose of this contract renewal is to purchase food to provide meals and snacks for students attending the Georgia Academy for the Blind, the Georgia School for the Deaf, and the Atlanta Area School for the Deaf. The total contract is not to exceed $270,000.
Any questions? Item 13.
All right, this is our FY24 Feminine Hygiene Products for Low-Income Students grant. The purpose of this grant is to provide feminine hygiene products for low-income students. And the total grant amount not to exceed $1,450,000.
Any questions or comments? Item 14.
All right, this is our FY24 RESA Mental Health Awareness Training Grant. The purpose of this grant is to supplement the existing mental health awareness training area by providing funding to be used for mental health awareness needs specific to each RESA. Total grant award is not to exceed $800,000.
Any comment?
Can Justin speak to this, because this is kind of,
If you would
Is he
like
here?
to, we can.
This grant will allow the RESAs to go outside the MHAT menu. So if there's a private vendor that wanted to come into the RESA that's outside the menu, we could screen it to make sure it adhered to the legislation. If they wanted to attend a conference, like PBI's conference, for example, possibly to have a mental health focus, they could use the funds to send staff to increase their awareness of it. It just gives it additional flexibility. But we still approve the money, we just look at the legislation, make sure it adheres to the training and awareness.
it's good.
It's something that's really needed.
Very exciting.
Any other comments? Item 15.
Item 15 is our 50 report.
You have that in your package. Any questions, comments about those items? Item 16.
And this is our grant amendments under $250,000.
It was also in your package. Any comments about that? Hearing none, Mr. Chairman, we will submit items 1 through 16 for the consent agenda from the Budget Committee.
Very good, thank you, Mr. Griffin. Does that conclude your business?
Yes.
Okay, very good. This month, we did not have the need for a charter flexibility committee, nor state schools, nor audits. So that concludes the committee business. Before I entertain a motion to go to executive session, I did want to introduce a new face at the end of the table today, and I'm gonna give her an opportunity to speak at our regular meeting. So I did wanna welcome Ms. Christy Todd, who is our new Teacher of the Year. Todd, we'll look to hear from you at the 1 o'clock meeting, if that's okay. You can introduce yourself briefly, and we're excited to have you on board as an ex officio member of the State Board of Education. As many of you all know, there was a law that was passed that says that the Teacher of the Year serves as an ex officio member of the State Board of Education, which just means she doesn't get to go back with us when we talk during the executive session, basically. But our past Teachers of the Year have been just an amazing wealth of knowledge, boots on the ground, as we like to say, that have been very helpful to us. And I know that Ms. Todd will fit in nicely with that. And another fine arts teacher. So we've got 2 in a row now, and I know that Mr. Kabita was very excited about that. And so coming from Fayette County, so sort of down in your neck of the woods, Helen, it's exciting. And so we'll hear more from you at 1 o'clock at our meeting today. But welcome. And we're happy to have you. Now, at this time, I'll entertain a motion to go to executive session for the purposes of discussing legal matters and personnel. I heard Frank first, I hear second from Ms. Zoller. Any discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, we will be in executive session. We will come back at 1 o'clock.